shit.
Are we?
Yep.
Is it okay?
You can come out.
Hi, I'm Witch's Hex. I'm here with Odin-Sphere Leifthrasir, or however you pronounce it. I'm running this game for like 4 or 5 months now, and I still don't know how to pronounce the name of it. Alright, so, ready? Start time on 3, 2, 1, go. So this is a PS4 remake of and just all around general improvement of a,
It's already updated.
PS2 game. It's a little action RPG. First thing you're going to notice right off the bat is the way that I zip across the screen like this. This is actually a frame-perfect trick. See, the fastest movement method I have is to do a dodge, cancel out of it, and then do a jump. I say it's frame perfect, but it's actually not that hard. Oh. I'm messing this up. So.
Yes, are you tweeting?
So you can actually beat out the tutorials in terms, you don't actually have to let them finish. You can move to the next one. So the idea is to do the tutorial messages as soon as possible. Although sometimes you do have to kill an enemy to move on. So I'm just preempting this one because I know what the order is. Alright, so that's the last one, which means I just need to kill the enemy on screen as soon as it decides it wants to. Okay, the enemy never spawned. I've never seen it just not want to spawn, but that's fine.
That's never happened before.
I mean, that's
never happened before.
an actively good thing because it means I don't have to kill the enemy. So now we get to put it all together and do the little combat tutorial. You see, they're telling us about phosons. They're these little purple dots that spawn when you kill enemies. They have 2 functions, one of which it's going to force us to do a tutorial for, and then we'll never use again because it's obscenely slow. The other of which is upgrading skills and abilities, which we'll use a ton. Unfortunately, those 6 are going to be forced consumed by this growing seeds tutorial. So here's the only time we're ever going to grow seeds. So yeah, we have there's a couple tutorials in this run that are kind of slow. This is one of them. So I'm gonna spit out my phosons here, let the plant absorb them. They give you exactly enough to grow this. I'm only gonna pick up one of these. I actually slid with timing. Oh, or I slid slightly late, but whatever. So I only need to do 1 for the tutorial to be complete. They only give 30 experience and increase your max health, but we don't care about max health, and 30 experience isn't enough to worth the animation for eating that other one. So we're just gonna eat the one. So yeah, whenever we have a room without enemies like this one, we're just gonna cross the room like this. There is a faster movement strategy that we'll get with when we start unlocking abilities, but that won't happen until after Chapter 2. So here we are. Our sister's died. We've got her sphere. We're off to go fight the war. So a lot of this game is these circular rooms of enemies. They get progressively more challenging throughout the game, and your arsenal kind of grows pretty quickly. Right now, all we have is our basic attacks. So I just picked up a potion there. That's a health restorative one. Potions have a number of effects, and a lot of this run is going to be keeping track of stock of what's dropped, what you can make, and I'll explain how to make them in a little bit. What you have, just making sure you know, because your boss strategies and even some of your regular encounter strategies are going to change drastically depending on your potion luck. And no matter what luck we get, we should still be fine, although some stuff, good luck is faster, obviously, but being prepared for everything is a big part of this run, so you never know what we're going to end up with. One other thing, and I'm not doing a great job of this right now, is that when we're in a room like this, we want to end the fight as close to the door as possible. Unfortunately, we got some kind of bad spawns with those fairies on the ground there. But it doesn't matter all that much. Oh, so here we have, we're getting our first skill. There's a handful of these that are going to be useful. This one is one of them. So here we have a Phazon Prism, and this one's going to give us the Ice Bolt skill, which is probably our second most useful active skill, and we're going to use it a bunch. Right now, we're just going to upgrade our base thing. This is the only time we're going to do that. When you upgrade a skill, you get a bonus to your base attack, no matter which skill it is. So you don't really upgrade that much, but that's the cheapest thing to do is upgrade that, and that'll make the next boss go faster. So that's the one time we're just going to upgrade the sphere itself without any skill. Ooh, I messed up my inputs there slightly. Now I have to do an additional menu, but it's not that big of a deal. So yeah, this boss, it doesn't actually matter how close you get to the boss, because it will spawn. Something to note about this game is that as Gwendolyn, because there are 5 playable characters, but as Gwendolyn, it's actually not that bad to juggle pretty much any enemy in the game. You can't do it forever, it will force you to drop, and the bigger the enemy, the easier the juggle is. With a lot of enemies, it's extremely hard. That boss also dropped a Toxin, which is, it can drop one of a few potions, and a Toxin is the best possible luck. So we got a bit lucky there with that, because the 2 most useful potions here are Toxin and Volcano. This Cyclone could come in handy, but it's unlikely. Might as well pick it up though, because it's on the way. So yeah, we're guaranteed a Volcano out of this chest. Chest drops are always the same. So we're guaranteed that Volcano. We have a Volcano and a Toxin for this boss, which is very good because both of those apply status effects that deal damage over time. So here we are, right away I'll use these potions. So not only do they do a lot of damage, but they're going to leave this burning and poison effect, and actually we got another Volcano from this boss, which is absurdly good luck, because it means when this one wears off I can throw the other one. So we got pretty lucky with potions here at the beginning. If I deal the damage to the boss fast enough, you'll notice that I can kind of drain the health bar before really any attacks can be built up. Yeah, so there we go. We got really lucky, and we have that Volcano for later. Potions do have ranks, which make them stronger, so that Volcano isn't going to be super useful for too much longer, but it will be useful in the next area. So here we're getting an ability. Completing a level gets you an ability, and every time, and this is the most useful ability in the game, Needle Strike. It's a physical ability, and I'll actually start explaining how those work, because it is a bit confusing, but that's going to be our primary attack for the rest of the game, is Needle Strike. So you'll notice near my health, above my health meter, there's a green striped bar. That's the POW gauge. The POW gauge will regenerate over time. And will also recover whenever I take damage, which means I will be taking intentional damage in a lot of places to recover that meter faster. And that's where a lot of the that's used for physical skills like Needle Strike. And then you'll notice the meter above it, the blue one, the PP meter, that's for magical abilities mostly. And that one only recovers when you pick up Phozons. Picking up a Phozon has a side effect of opening that. So you can actually preempt this tutorial and move faster than it, and you have to wait in the menu for a bit there. So this is teaching us how to mix together items to make different potions. For example, mixing across that type of Mandragora, which is an item that's primary purpose is used for potion making. Yeah, so this is, and an empty bottle makes a potion. It's actually going to make us do that tutorial 3 times to tell us very slightly different things. So look forward to that. So, one thing to note about that ability, you'll notice that a lot of the times after using it, I'll do a dodge. I can cancel out the end of the animation by dodging. The last bit of the animation does do a significant amount of damage, but it's not always worth doing, depending if you're using it against weak enemies. So it's faster to dodge, roll, cancel. This is telling us that not only can we make potions using empty bottles, but if we don't have a useful potion, we can turn it into a more useful one with alchemy. That really didn't need its own tutorial. It could have just been a text prompt at the end of the last one, but instead they made us sit through the whole tutorial again. So, here we have those little goblins. They're not too much of a threat. Got another volcano there. The upcoming boss in this level is one of the harder bosses in this run. So, better to have more potions to be prepared. So remember that tutorial we saw 2 times? I know that you all wanted to see it a 3rd time to tell you another slightly different way to do this. So this one's going to tell us that we can improve a potion by putting food in it instead of eating it. Now, you might be wondering, couldn't have this been a text prompt at the end of one of the last 2 tutorials? Yes, it could have. But instead, it needs its own tutorial. So anyway, here's the man-eating plant Alarune. This boss is actually pretty easy. Something to note about, a note about the 2 abilities I'm going to be using here. So this one, Needle Strike. Needle Strike is good because, like with most physical abilities, if I can mask the animation. Or I can basically, if I'm in the animation rather, if I'm in the animation and I get hit, I take damage, but I don't get knocked back. Although that's a bad thing to get hit by. And what this allows me to do is, not drop my chain, which is not important yet, but it will be later. And also not stop attacking and get my POW gauge refilled a little bit. We just got a piece of equipment that's kind of useful, so we're going to equip it. It's not super useful, but it's worth equipping. So yeah, this room's going to have some beehives in it, and it's important to take care of these as fast as possible because they will spawn other enemies. They're not really that big of a threat, the enemies that it spawns. 2 needle strikes kills them. Let's actually get that other one before we mess around with the bears more. One thing to note about the combat is one of the most important things to do is to get enemies to group up like this so that you can take care of them with needle strikes. I've been poisoned, it doesn't matter. I'm actually going to take this thing. That's one of the Mandragoras. I can use that to make purple potions. A couple of the purple potions are useful. I actually need to be careful about how many items I pick up because my bag does have limited capacity, and I don't want to have to be sorting through it at any point, so I only want to pick up useful things. All right, so here we have Velvet. So what's really annoying about this boss is that when you try to, she's hard to juggle. A, because she's, human-sized, which is basically as small as enemies get. There are a couple that are smaller, and they're even worse. But B, the ceiling is really low, and the lower the ceiling, the harder it is to juggle an enemy. So a couple notes about stuns here, because this is when it starts to be important. So there's two types of stuns in this game. There's full stuns and mini stuns. Mini stuns happen with certain attack patterns. Most notably, Ice Bolt forces a mini stun. And mini stuns will interrupt attacks. And that's good for, canceling out when the enemy's trying to do something and just keeping them pinned down like that. Bigger stuns happen at the end of certain points in attacks, and specifically noting when in a chain, or at the end of a health bar. And what those do is those put the enemy into a complete stun where they can't do anything, and it also launches them into the air, which lets me juggle them like this. Not yet, but during the next chapter, Gwendolyn's going to start doing bonus damage while an enemy's airborne. So this is important. This is actually a really good Velvet fight, because Velvet likes to go all over the place, and the fact that that actually didn't happen there was pretty good. I didn't even really have a chance to throw a ton of potions at her, but yeah, that's a really good Velvet fight. So here we get a passive skill that's extremely useful, but before that, it's going to move us into tell us what abilities are. And abilities, you get an ability point whenever you level up, and ability points are all passive abilities. And some of them are pretty good. This one increases gliding speed, which is going to change how we move around. But basically, we want the second branch of abilities, and almost all the ones in that branch boost attack, and the ones on the right boost pow, and the second last one boost POW gauge recovery. We're also going to upgrade Assault High here. This is a passive skill we just unlocked that boosts damage based on how large my chain is. And that's a pretty significant, and it ends up doing it by a pretty significant amount. So we're going to be paying a lot closer attention to the chain now. And dropping chain is going to be much worse than it, because it didn't really matter at the beginning, but it's going to be important to maintain that. So here we are, and this level is kind of interesting because there's two things we have to do in the run that requires us to go out of our way. One of them is to get an item that's really useful for an equipment slot, and the other is to get a skill that's hidden, because every level has a hidden skill, but we only get one, because most of them aren't that useful. And both of them are in this level. Every other level, you just take the fastest route to the end, maybe stopping to pick up a key if it's required. These enemies are interesting. So these enemies will freeze you if you get hit by them and die if you do that. Because freeze is an effect that slows you down, you don't want to get frozen, unless it's by the last one. If it's by the last one, it doesn't matter. But depending on the circumstances with those type of enemies, you might see me block, because if they hit you while blocking, if they hit you while blocking, they die and you don't get frozen and you only take 1 damage. So anyway, this tutorial is the cooking tutorial. It's going to teach us how to use Murray, the traveling chef. Now, using Murray is very slow, so we're never going to do it outside this tutorial. But this tutorial is good for one reason. Notice in the top left corner that we're level 5. Now, that's pretty low level for this point in the game, because we haven't been doing anything to, no grinding, no food, nothing. We've just been rushing through. Let's look at our level after I eat this omelet. Yeah, that almost doubled our level there. So now we do a bunch more damage just from that tutorial. This is the one friendly tutorial. Unfortunately, we're never going to use that mechanic again. Anyway, we're now going to start traversing rooms like this. Because of the fast glide, it's now faster to move like that. You know, with the exception of these vertical rooms, we're just going to jump up there. You can gain more height by doing like a vertical slash, but it's not worth it. Here's a mini-boss that is incredibly annoying. This boss, I think almost every character fights this boss. Gwendolyn actually has the easiest time of it of everyone. I did that instead of waiting the POW gauge to rebuild so that I could take the hit. This glowing pink thing is the only weak part on this boss. And it does a lot of knockback attacks, does a lot of damage. You pretty much, you can stand on this ledge next to it, but it's not very useful. Now I want to be hit by as many of these boss attacks as possible because I want to be doing needle strike as much as possible, but only if I can get into it, because if I get hit by an attack while not needle striking, I will lose my chain, and that's going to cost me a significant amount of damage. Not saying it can't happen, it is really easy to mess that up. And it's not the end of the world if it happens, but it does lose time. Oh, yep, there. Well, that actually didn't really matter because it's so late into the fight that the damage bonus wasn't really going to do much. Now, this boss dropped a blaze, and blaze potions create like a pillar of fire that basically lasts for a period of time. And this the boss at the end of this level is one of the most is another really annoying boss fight, and blazes are very good against him. So that level 2 blaze is going to come in handy. So here's our optional skill that we went out of the way for. This one is similar to Assault Eye. It's called Skill Link. Basically, we got a free damage bonus if we use skills more frequent. The more skills we use in a set, so it's worth getting because we within one chain, because it's worth getting because we typically use both Ice Shot and Assault and Needle Strike, and there's one ability, Rising Crescent, that we'll get later in the game that we'll use as well. It's not really worth upgrading because upgrading it increases the number of skills that it applies for. Right now it goes up to using 3 skills. We're never going to have more than 3 useful skills, so it's never worth upgrading. But the base form is useful. Anyway, I also just, while I was in the menu, because that's the fastest time to do it, is when it forces you into the menu anyway, I spent the ability points I got from leveling up on an ability that boosts my damage in the air, which is good, because not only is my moveset strongest in the air, I can do frequent constant damage without, opening risk to attack, pretty much against any humanoid-sized boss, with one exception being the one in this level. You can juggle them, and you want to keep them in the air. You want to keep everything in the air if possible. Also, one quick note, you'll notice that I'm opening every chest even if I don't pick up anything from it. That's because I'm gonna need 525 gold at a certain point, and before that point, before I have 525 gold, I need to be opening chests. But I will continue to open chests after that point for useful items. Anyway, here's my favorite boss, the Bugbear. Now, what's notable about the Bugbear is that this is the least difficult, least intimidating boss in the entire run. This boss cannot do anything. Also, that boss dropped a Fire Spirits. Fire Spirits is an incredibly rare potion that is basically the best one in the game. The fact that this boss dropped one is some absurdly good luck. They drop so rarely. You maybe see one drop every 20 runs. Anyway, this boss just gets stun locked by everything. Because the boss is so tall, we can hang out in the air like this. This boss is just completely harmless. Yep, dead. So this boss is actually optional, and the reason that we fought this boss is for this item in this chest, the Saturn Bangle. And, I would also go out of the way for the Fire Spirits, too, if I knew that was an option. Now, a quirk with the merchants in this game, once you've found an item in a level, all the merchants in that level will sell it, so we can buy 2 more of them. And these items boost your damage in and your damage out. So by getting 2 of those here, we can increase our damage output by 30%, which, you know, for doing that one boss, a 30% increase is pretty substantial. Especially considering that for this whole run, we are going to be substantially underleveled. I want that level 2 material because it's useful, but the level 1 one isn't. You can mix together those bottles to make better potions, and especially later in the game, we're going to want to be making a lot of really good potions. Early in the game, you pretty much don't make potions at all. You just use the ones you find. With some very specific luck, you might wind up making something, but it's extraordinarily rare that you would do that. So right here, there's a boss coming up. I'm actually going to eat this hot cross bun for an extra level. No. Wait, no one could hear that. Anyway, I'm going to do a couple things here. So this boss, oh, that's incredibly mean of that boss. So this boss starts with 4 shields, and while the shields are up, you can't actually deal damage to the boss. I'm going to have to use these fire spirits now, actually, because the blaze didn't work. I'm actually going to throw another blaze, too. So these shields at the beginning, this boss will spawn with 4 shields. They actually don't go down based on damage. They go down based on number of hits. So we're going to keep the boss trapped here to get those shields off. Now, we want to keep this boss in the blaze because that's good. At a certain point, this boss is going to summon more Valkyries that will bring in... backups for those... that will bring up backup shields. We want to kill the boss before those Valkyries arrive. It is possible to keep them off. I've done it before, but it is absurdly difficult. So the better thing is to get it, and because we have that fire spirits, that should be pretty easy. The first Valkyrie just brings a refill on his drink attack, which is not a big deal at all. So yeah, we didn't even get a chance. We took care of that so fast, we didn't even get a chance to see them spawn because we got really lucky with our potions there. Yeah, having us fire spirits for that boss is something that basically never happens, but when it does, you can guarantee a really easy fight. So priority for upgrades whenever we can afford it is Needle Strike. We're also going to get Backstab. This will increase damage from behind. Unlike increasing damage in the air, we can't control this one as much, but it'll come up. So yeah, we've actually unlocked a thing called the Puka Village there. It'll become useful after the next chapter. I'll explain about it when we actually go there. So this level is going to drop us straight off into a mini-boss, but this mini-boss is real easy. I'm actually going to use a Cyclone to get enemies out of the way right away, because I have so many Cyclones. So this Cyclone isn't really doing what I intended it to do. So yeah, so remember what I said, bigger the boss, easier it is to juggle. This is basically as big as bosses get in terms of juggleable bosses, so. At about half health, the game will force me to drop this enemy, but yeah, there we go. But guess what, if I drain the health bar, we can go again, unless I happen to hit it on exactly the wrong frame and it's immune to being launched, but that's fine, I can still just do this. Level 3 Cyclone, useful enough, not really as a Cyclone so much as just in general. I'm going to pick up this Mandragora because purple potions are useful. So now keys are a thing, there's going to be locked doors. Some of them we're going to have to go out of our ways to get keys for. Pretty much every level has one required door from this point on. There's one exception to that, but it kind of has an equivalent gimmick mechanic that basically serves as a key. Those carrots, that Mandragora makes healing potions, which are... You really don't need... The game gives you way more healing potions than you need for this difficulty, so it's whatever. This item, Milk, is going to be useful for making something that I'll explain at the end of this level.
God, this game is pretty.
Yeah, this game is extremely pretty.
The background of this level is just like, holy boy.
Yeah, Vanillaware is very good at making beautiful games. So yeah, Valkyries like to block a lot, and that's kind of a pain. We're going to need to guard break a ton. Blocking enemies are not our friends, because we can't just mindlessly needle strike them. Not that it's really mindless, but you know what I mean. So, okay. So there's a useless skill we get for doing this room, which would normally make it, which would normally scream avoid this room because there's an animation that's going to play at the end of the room for this. Unfortunately, this room is kind of, there's no way around it. We got to go through this way. But this does mean that we get an extra chance to go look at our skill menu and upgrade some stuff mid-level, because it's absurd. It's extraordinarily slow to go into the skill menu yourself. We only do it when the game forces us in there, so this will let us get some bonus goodies. So we're coming up on probably the most annoying mini-boss in the run. Actually, don't have enough things to upgrade anything, so... I don't have enough Phozons to upgrade anything useful. So we're not going to upgrade anything, we're just going to leave the menu. So here we go. So this is an airship. This boss is the airship. Now the airship can be very nice and not move around, but that very rarely happens. So after, oh my god, another fire spirits. Wow. That's obscenely lucky. All right, so there's stuff everywhere in this boss fight, and you can't really do much about it. So this boss actually spawns that last boss again with 1 health bar. So yeah, you gotta hit these. There's stuff flying every which way. The airship can just suddenly decide it wants to go somewhere else. You're constantly taking 1,000,000 damage. Just actually taking the amount of damage we're taking is actually getting a little bit worrying. But the boss is almost dead, so I'm gonna push my luck for just another. There we go. Okay, that was close.
This is like the opposite luck as your game's finished adequately run.
Yeah, I'm getting really good. So so the one good thing about this boss is that it basically drops 1,000,000 things. It dropped a Habaneristo, which is this little red Mandragora. That was what I kind of wanted out of that, because it's pretty likely, because there's so many enemies and you get a lot of turnies and it blows up the floor so much that all the ones on the floor get blown up. You don't have to go hunting for them. But at the end of the game, I'm going to want 2 of those at minimum. More would be good, but if I don't have 2, it makes the last couple bosses a lot slower. You're guaranteed to find 1 in a chest. So you really only need to find 1. And the odds of not finding 1 are pretty low, but not infeasible. It happened during GFA. Because with Gwendolyn, you actually only unlock 1 tourney a level, or 1 Mandragora a level. So those red ones only start spawning this level. So you have a chance of just never seeing one. Tora-Thons start in the first level and they're useless. Also, Mandragoras don't count as inventory slots. They have their own special inventory things, so I can pick up as many as I want without worrying about filling up my inventory with garbage. I mean, to an extent, there's a maximum you can hold, but we will not hit that maximum ever. It's 9, but in a run, you're never going to hit 9. Casually, you can easily hit 9, and you probably will, in fact. Anyway, Valkyries like to block, which makes them a little a little tough to deal with sometimes, and you know, you can get really unlucky with their blocking patterns. That wasn't too bad, but it wasn't too good either. Anyway, I'm gonna take this chicken. Yeah, you know. From pretty much the last level onwards, we're going to eat before every boss, exceptions to the last boss, because it's not really worth the time for the eating animations. Anyway, this room has a lot of stuff in it. Hi, I didn't want to get hit. These bombs are not supposed to be threatening, because if you hit a bomb after it's been thrown with one of your attacks, it actually becomes a friendly bomb. Okay, we're gonna actually do something a little shameful here and drink a health potion. I accidentally picked up an item because I was sliding. So yeah, enemies spawn everywhere here. And the goal is to kind of just make as big of groups as you can. Ooh, no you don't. These enemies can also throw potions. If you hit them with the right timing, they'll drop them. A toxin would be useful, but at this point a rank 1 toxin just isn't worth it. Now, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix up some of my potions. And we're gonna, oh, I need a little more boost here. All right, so we're gonna make a yogurt, and yogurt actually doubles the effects of all the food we're gonna eat. So that means we get double experience. But also, I'm gonna open this door first, and we're gonna mask part of the eating animation with the door opening animation. It's not gonna mask the whole thing, but it is, you know, faster than doing it at any other time. So, boss time. This boss is our last easy boss. This boss is tall, doesn't do a lot. This boss is actually absurdly tough with other characters because he has an additional attack, but for us right now, anyway, let's poison him. Let's put him on fire. Also, even if I drop the juggle, which is not hard, which is, you know, kind of easy to not do on this boss is so ridiculously tall that I can kind of just stand in the air and do it anyway. I actually went too high here. You don't want to go too high with juggles because it prevents you from juggling more, but
Beat up your crappy dad.
yeah, this is our dad. He's not a good guy. I mean, he's also being mind controlled right now by that last boss who got killed. You know, the lore. I mean,
this game has 2 phases. You do stuff for your dumb dad in phase 1, and then in phase 2 you do stuff for your dumb boyfriend. The lesson is that boys are bad.
Oswald didn't do anything wrong. Your dad did a lot wrong. You're the best.
Mega Man is the only bastion of purity.
All right. So here we go. That boss is easy. That level 3 volcano is going to come in handy because this run has decided that we're worthy of the best luck. Anyway, here we've unlocked the Rising Crescent skill, and this is going to be useful against future bosses and mini-bosses just to give us a 3rd skill to throw down.
Yep.
All right, so there we go. We have one more useful skill that we can get. Basically, all the skills just increase damage and POW gauge recovery time. So now we're going to start using the Puka Village between chapters. This lets us spend money on food. It's basically all it does. It lets us, it's not general money. There's a specific type of money that you can spend in these areas. We're gonna basically come in here, depending on our luck, we can buy different things. We're always just gonna buy the most expensive thing we can afford and then leave. Because basically just buying anything else wouldn't be worth the time it takes to eat it. So that's gonna gain us a few levels every time we do this. It is luck how much Valentinian currency you pick up, so you're going to get different food, which means different amounts of experience every time. There's actually 2 restaurants, but the one on the right gives you more max HP, and that doesn't matter as much, so we don't ever use it. So here we have, the Inferno. We've gone to rescue our husband now, which is what we're going to be doing in pretty much every chapter from this point forward. Fun fact, all of the stories in his chapters are him going to rescue you. You're pretty much just taking turns going to rescue each other. But you don't see the scenes for that. Alright, so these fire little orbs are the same as the ice ones from earlier, except for they set you on fire. They're actually significantly less harmful because they, being set on fire isn't actually that bad because it doesn't affect your movement at all. Whereas being frozen slows you down, so they're not really a threat at all. These exploding ones are a pain, though. Basically, they explode after you kill them, and if you're too close, you're getting stunned. If I get unlucky, I might have to use Ice Bolt to kind of hit them because they're too close to other ones. Which is slow, because Ice Bolt has a slow startup and doesn't do enough damage to kill them in one. They also like to bounce around, which is annoying. And you have to wait for them to finish. Oh, I guess you don't have to wait for them to finish exploding all the time. Anyway, more milk means more yogurt. This level has milk. The next one does not, so just these 2 levels for Gwendolyn are going to have milk in them. And we're... alright. So here's our next mid-boss. This one's pretty easy. The mid-bosses in this level aren't too bad. The second one has you have to kind of be careful with. The first one can't really do all that much. Likes to float in the air, just in general, after losing a couple health bars, which, is good for Gwendolyn because she likes to float in the air, too. Not so good for other characters. We do not want to drop chains, so we need to be careful when... See, right there I was forced to drop the juggle, but I didn't want to drop the chain, so I had to go down there fast. Anyway, here's some shrimp that we can eat. Anyway, you'll notice the boss tower down there. We need to go get a key. I'm actually going to take this Rising Crescent ability and equip it now, because it's going to be useful for the next boss. The next mini-boss, anyway. It's not actually useful at all against the next boss. The full boss that we have coming up for this area is the hardest boss in the run. And we're going to have fun. Okay, I got hit by one of those explosions. Yeah, that's the other thing, is that, those explosions can kind of chain together and just kind of ruin your day a bit. And they actually usually do, because they usually wind up spaced in a way where you kind of get knocked back from one to the other, because you're kind of going one direction to the other to fight them. Anyway, here's our guaranteed habanero. Well, actually, it's a habaneristo because fantasy, but we need it. That gives us 2, which is gonna hopefully be enough. We can also hold on to some blazes for the end of the game, which is very rare that we can't, but does happen sometimes. Anyway, this mini-boss is not too bad. I think this boss looks a lot like Tweety Bird. Basically, the thing to be aware of is that I want to be using my Frostbolt on this boss to basically make sure that this boss can't land that attack that starts with the same animation with the stick being risen in the air. Oh, I dropped my chain. But if it's glowing red, I really, really don't want that attack to go through because it causes these pillars of fire that basically are just going to be there for a while. You can't cross through them. They do a ton of damage. You basically just have to sit there and wait for them to go away. So you really don't want to see that attack. Fortunately, with some Frostbolts, you can guarantee you won't see it. That time I could tell that my Needle Strike was going to do enough damage to bring that down. So I didn't need to. But even if I do get kind of screwed over in the middle of a Needle Strike animation, I can, yeah, so there we go. It's not too hard to avoid those, but you've got to be really careful to make sure you actually do. Anyway, saw this boss drops a Toxin, which is actually going to be pretty much required for this next upcoming boss. There it is. That actually saves us the effort of making that Toxin. All right, so let's make another yogurt as per his tradition. As per is. So yeah, let's make another yogurt. You know the drill, drink the yogurt. Open the door, eat our food. And yes, yogurt is a thing you drink. I'm actually gonna make another Toxin. Turn this useless Cyclone into a Toxin. Actually, or just a Toxin. And do I have enough? I think I wound up picking up enough. Yeah, so we're also gonna make an Overload for this boss, which will boost damage. That does mean I have to be careful to pick up another equipment, but I can do that. So I'm actually going to wait to use these things for a little bit. So this boss has 3 phases, and if we play this perfectly, we will not see the third one. However, that's not something that usually happens. So the first phase, the boss has this crown. After a health bar or so, that's going to happen. It actually doesn't happen during a health bar, which is a little weird. Oh, that's good on seeing that there. This whirlwind is going to come in a lot of handy here. So we're going to poison this boss now. And the one thing to do is the boss is going to try to do this dash attack at a certain point. Yeah, that fire screwed us over and lost chain. So this boss is basically impossible to juggle. If you try, he'll get behind you. Also, you might have noticed, but because this is the fire boss, you might have noticed I'm not using any fire potions. They wouldn't be very good against this boss, which is a shame because all of our best defensive potions are fire potions. Fire spirits, Oh, no, I got stunned during that. That's an okay amount of time to keep the crown off for, but... Alright, let's throw that other Toxin I made. This volcano will be useful against later bosses, namely the next 2. Ooh, hey, a spare habaneristo. Alright, that wasn't too bad. Could have been better. Still getting really good potion luck, which is good. Anyway, that was the worst boss in the rundown. Ah, one short. Okay, let's upgrade something else. That's a darn shame. The last upgrade of that also reduces POW cost, which is really good. All right, so back to the Puka Village again. Gonna see how much Valentinian currency. There's not really a way to tell how much you've picked up unless you're paying extremely close attention. So let's see. All right, we have 3, which is good, because that means we can buy this. And at some point soon, we're gonna stop opening chests that don't have food in them or potion equipment. This is because once we hit 525 gold, we have all the money we'll ever need, and there's no reason to open stuff. Some of the chests will have stuff we want. I need another piece of equipment for one. To make more overloads later. I actually didn't use that overload, which was a bit of a mistake. I'll use it on the boss at the end of this area instead. I'm also going to want to start picking up more empty bottles and food items that are, the non-good type of food items that don't give enough experience for potion enhancements. You actually have to be careful when mixing those, because if you put too many in, it'll turn whatever you're making into a health potion, and that's pretty bad. Because you do not... Anyway, that is enough gold right there, so no more opening chests, except for the ones that have important things. I hope you like hearing fairies scream, because there's going to be a bunch of it this level. Level 3 material, don't mind if I do. Alright, useless chest. Alright, so here we have a boss, a mini boss that is kind of interesting. So this boss has 3 forms, but with how much damage we do during the run, we are only going to see 2 of them. This first form, which it starts in, is the most annoying one. It can't really hurt you, but it's obscenely hard to hit. It's tiny. It's actually taking... So it can turn into 1 of 2 forms, Sexy Shroom and Muscle Shroom. Muscle Shroom's a little easier. Not that Sexy Shroom's that hard. That being said, we've seen Sexy Shroom, and I'm a little disappointed, not because it's easier, but because Muscle Shroom is my friend. And I like seeing Muscle Shroom. So we're going to fight Sexy Shroom. So we're not going to see Muscle Shroom. Ow. Alright. Yeah, the other form is like this extremely muscly mushroom. So we're going to enter this room. We're then immediately going to leave that room. We activated the teleport point there. Then this room has a shrinking mushroom in it. And it also has a teleport room. So we can just go through here, and that's it. That little gimmick replaces having a key in this level. Sorry for... So here we go. So this chest actually had useful things in it, so I'm going to open it. The next chest does as well. It has a really good food item. No milk in this level, so we can't bump it. We could buy milk, and that's actually faster if we were playing on normal, but not on easy, because on easy it's not worth the time to buy the milk and the time to open all the chests to get the extra money to buy more milk. Yeah, so let's take care of that one. Those fairies can cast annoying spells, the most annoying of which is a heal spell, so best to head those off before they happen. See, right, 2 of them guarded there. In these big groups, it's really hard to actually hit the guard break properly. And sometimes it's worth just breaking through the guard the other just by overloading them. I'm going to pick up that maple there for putting into a potion later. It doesn't give a ton of experience for eating, so it's not worth it in that regard, but it is, worth it for potion boosting in a little while, especially in the next level. In the next level, we're going to rely even more heavily on potions than in previous ones. And the next level is the last one, by the way. Alright. Oh, I picked up everything but the thing I needed. Okay. So let's eat our... That should bring us up to level 27. And we're going to go fight Mercedes. Who is another one of the playable characters. So let's use some of our stuff. This is the last good chance to even use a toxin. Oh, ow, okay. That was... I actually want this Habaneri still. Let's throw down this whirlwind. And oop, okay, I thought I had I had something else. Ooh, that toxin will come in handy right now, though. This whirlwind ability is really useful against certain bosses. I'm actually going to pick up this toxin for immediate use. That was worth dropping Chain for, because we got the poison status effect up on her. That being said, this fight is a little messy. So something you'll notice Mercedes doing is that she actually stops to absorb the phosons in the area. Which I do want to stun her out of so that I can have them. Not that big of a deal if I miss them, though. I can hear people mimicking these sound effects behind me. I can't do it. I don't have the vocal range. So this fight is a little messy, but it's not that bad. We're almost done with this boss. There, we're done. No more sound effect.
You can never stop me!
I like I like how we're getting applause for no more sound effect.
No, you did that fight great.
The thing is, if I'd put the game in English, we wouldn't have had to hear that. But I didn't. so that you all had to hear this. Anyway, we can finish upgrading Needle Strike now. And this is a useful ability. This is a useful upgrade. Not only does it give a pretty decent attack bonus and gives, more max PP, but most importantly, it reduces the POW cost of that, which means that I can actually do more per POW meter. It does actually tip the balance on that one. Anyway, here's our last visit to the Puka Killa. The Puka Killa. We don't actually have as much money as we would like, so we're only going to be able to get that, but that should be enough to boost us to almost level 30. One more thing. The reason I saved up all this money is those bangles I've been wearing from the whole game. This merchant will now start selling better ones. So I can buy these.
Take those expensive things you just bought and just throw them on the floor for you.
Yeah, all merchants just drop their stuff on the floor. So anyway, we're off to the epilogue now. So there's a thing to note about both of the bosses in this area is that we need to compensate. Both of them teleport, which means that both of these the bosses teleport, and although it's technically possible for you to maintain chain through the teleport, it requires perfect luck in addition to perfect luck in addition to perfect play, and you kind of have to be expecting it, so not reliable at all to do that, especially in a marathon. So we need to be a little, we need to have a better potion backing to make up for the damage. So here's a gimmick that's about to be introduced, is invisible enemies are going to start spawning. And by invisible, I mean partially visible. But if you throw down a shine potion, they'll become tangible, because you can't hit them normally. Except for if they're near that NPC with the torch, or if they're about to attack you. Unfortunately, we're not getting the best spawn luck with these things, so we wound up not getting great luck there, but it's still okay. There's food in that chest, but we're not going to eat anymore. It's not worth eating at any point now. So I am going to open the chest in this area for the equipment. So fortunately, those shine potions, there's 2 rooms that are on the required path that have ghostly enemies. And there's 2 free shine potions the game gives you in miniature chests next to doors. So that's pretty nice of them. So we never have to actually make our own to deal with them. I'm actually going to open this for the thing. The one thing I didn't pick up out of that chest. Anyway, potion crafting in a second, because we're about to fight the mini-boss in this stage. And the mini-boss has the teleporty issue, same as the regular one. So we're going to do 2 things. One, we're going to make those, make these overloads. We do not need a level 6 health potion. We don't have enough health for that. So we're going to make 2 level 6 overloads. And then we're going to take whatever we can get. We're going to make the best fire spirits we can manage. So yeah, that's pretty good. And we also have a bunch of volcanoes. I'll make one more because, oh wait, no I won't. Okay, I don't have this. I forgot I just used all of my. So right away we're gonna use overload. And fire spirits. It's good that we have all these volcanoes, but I'm gonna save those for the next boss. That being said, these are gonna be used right here. So yeah, we need to do this to make up for the fact that A, we can't use, toxins, killer cloud, purple potions are useless against these things. And 2, we're going to lose our chain here at every thing. So we need to make up for that damage, and this does pretty nicely. Sometimes if you hit them on like the right frame, they can skip teleports. You can't control that because it has to do with their animation, so we actually skipped a teleport. You have to be able to, you know, foresee them using a specific attack at a specific time for that to work. You can't do that, so you can't actually preempt that. But it happened twice in this fight, which, like, you know, if you were a TAS, you could do it. But RTA, you can't control that. So the fact that we got 2 teleport skips on that fight was a little absurd. This is actually some of the best luck I've ever seen in a run. I've had one run that was this lucky. Take this extra shine, and we're on our way to our last boss. So we got another room of these. All those volcanoes are going to be useful. It would be nice to have a blaze, but for a specific phase, but I don't have another habanero to throw into it, so that'll be okay though. It's not that big of a deal. There's just one phase where a blaze is kind of useful. That being said, supplementing it with like 8 volcanoes is also pretty useful. All right, so here's our other type of ghostly enemies, Geists. Gonna stun those down. Regardless of the rank of the potion, the like light field is permanent, so it doesn't actually matter how good those potions are. I mean, they do more damage, but they don't actually do that much damage in general. They can kill the like small ones in one shot because those things have one hit, but other than that, they don't do a ton. So yeah, you'll notice that like to get an S rank in that thing, there were 24 seconds left on the clock before it would even start deducting points. Yeah. All right, anyway, at the end of this room, we're going to enter the menu one last time for spending whatever Phozons we have. Just upgrade Ice Shot. Hopefully we can get some teleport skips here too, because that would be kind of nice. All right, and here we are up to our last boss. So let's pop this overload. All right, be ready on time, by the way. It's at the end of this boss. We still have a little bit, but...
Yeah, I'm on it.
Yep, will do. So yeah.
I'm busy. I'm about to hit the time button.
Okay, so I have a lot of health potions, so I'm going to take the risk and intentionally take this hit. The bangles I have equipped right now actually have a side effect where the lower health I am, the more damage they do. Because I have so many health potions that I don't need, I'm going to take that risk and take the damage there. If need be, I can heal. It's going to be worth having this damage output for right now. All right, so we're going to want to get behind the boss right now for this spider phase. Now, oh, I do have a blaze. but I threw it in the wrong spot. Haha. Okay, let's not take that risk. No, come on, unstun. Come on, we're close. And time. Oh, that's actually a PB. Mind if I check IGT?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so let's see what IGT is, because this is a PB and the leaderboards use IGT. So let's see. Yeah, 109.48.
GG. Not a world recce.
It looks like a world record, but world record isn't actually on the leaderboard. Yeah. How? Because it's world record was actually obtained in the all books category, which has a subset of this run, but the person who did it never highlighted out this category and submitted it to the leaderboards. So this is the best run on the leaderboards, but it's not world record.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well done.